Welcome to Telling the Tale. My name is Mitchell Farley Wolf, and I'm here with Dustin Jackson. How's it going?
At last, we are here to continue Tales from the Borderlands.
That's right.
Get it? At last?
No, I do.
That's a stretch.
I got it. You didn't. Tales from the Borderlands, Episode 2, Atlas Mugged, was released originally on March 17th, 2015. Written by Shoret, Breslau, Jordan, and Stirp. Designed by McManus. And directed by Jonathan Stauder.
Ooh, Stauder.
Yeah.
That's a good name.
So this episode kicks off with a cool open. We got one of these openers last episode too, right?
Yeah, but I didn't know if we were going to keep getting them because I thought it was just something to fill you in on what was happening in the series, but I guess this is our previously on Tales from the Borderlands.
Yeah.
And it has really nice illustrations.
It has really nice illustrations. I was going to comment on that. Also worth commenting is at the beginning of that, it says, look, it's been a while. I know. And that is probably because the first episode of Tales from the Borderlands was released on November 25th, 2014. Think of that in your head. What were you doing on November 25th, 2014?
I could not for the life of you. Probably playing the Wii U.
And then episode 2 was released on March 17th, 2015. That's
a long time.
That's 4 months later. Quite a bit of time.
That's a pretty big gap. Have we had a gap that size before?
In a regular season like this? I don't think so.
Yeah.
No.
Interesting. So our biggest one.
Yeah, Bone 1 and 2 was longer, but Bone was not really.
But those are kind of considered separate.
They're kind of considered separate, but only because they didn't finish.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, if they finished, they'd probably be considered a season.
Yeah, well, I don't know, because I remember you could buy, like, each one on its own separate disc.
Yeah, that's true. That was a time where they were doing the episodic thing, but you were still able to buy every episode individually.
Yeah.
Which is how things kind of worked back in the day. It wasn't considered that big of a deal to have a physical release of a game because, I mean, let's face it, CDs are pretty cheap. You don't need to try that hard to put out a CD in a market where everyone is just putting CDs on the market. Nowadays, if you're putting out a physical product, you're saying something about that product. You're saying it's big.
Right.
You're saying it's a big deal.
This is big, big, big.
So, Dustin, what'd you think about Atlas Mugged in general?
Mitchell, I gotta be honest, this episode really didn't do that much for me. It wasn't bad. I didn't have a bad time doing it, but I think just after how much I enjoyed the first episode, this one kind of falls short.
Yeah, it definitely feels like an in-between episode.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, it doesn't feel like there are big things that happen in this episode, but it doesn't feel like very many big things happen this episode.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. Like, to put it into context, in the first episode, we're introduced to Reese and Vaughn and Fiona and Sasha and August and Vasquez, which is basically the entire cast. Each of them felt very full-bodied. Each of them had goals and personalities that were given time to shine. It was quite a bit longer than this episode, I feel. It was it was bombastic. It was loud. There was stuff with like Bossa Nova and Zero, where we were introduced to those characters, where we'd probably know Zero if we played the other Borderlands games, but even not playing those Borderlands games, they felt like complete individuals, and they were given so many little moments to shine. The whole thing with Felix was like a complete arc in the first episode. It was introduced, the characters went on a journey, and it was resolved. And this is like, okay, we're taking a very small window of time after that moment. Oh, and like the whole, you see the deal to buy the vault key in episode 1.
Yeah.
From 2 different perspectives, and it's such a cool like story device thing that I don't think I appreciated enough at the time, because I just felt like, oh, we're going to get something like that every episode. We did not get anything like that this episode.
Yeah, this episode's pretty... It's just about them going somewhere. until the very... There are some, I guess, big things that happen, but really nothing feels like it hits as hard as that first episode does.
It's not only that, but like the couple things that happen this episode, it feels like they're repeated. You have 3 of what feels like kind of the same conversation with Handsome Jack in your head. You have 2 of what feels like kind of the same conversation with Vasquez, who's trying to intimidate you.
Right. It feels like a lot of characters don't get much time to shine either. Like, I don't remember Sasha doing much of anything in this episode.
I have a good Sasha moment.
Oh, okay. I'll also be perfectly fair. I was pretty tired. I was playing this at like 1 a.m. last night, so I was a little tired. But nothing in this episode really did much to wake me up.
Oh man, this is coming out more negative than I expected, but
yeah, and I liked it fine. I didn't have a bad time playing this. I still wanted to see where it was going. I just, by the end of it, I was kind of left with feeling like, oh, that's it, I guess.
Well, what's interesting is that this episode is called Atlas Mugged, which implies a theft of something related to the company Atlas. And once you finish the episode, you realize that the thing it's referring to actually happened at the end of the last episode, when they fall into that like Atlas old tech vault, not a vault in Borderlands terms, just sort of their own little thing, where they've got all kinds of Atlas knickknacks and toys, and they took some, and that's what Atlas Mugged is referring to. It's still that. Yeah. Not enough happened in this episode that was worthy of putting it apart to the side so that they could name the episode after it.
Yeah. And I hear really, really good things about this season. Like, people say it's one of the best Telltale games, so maybe it picks up after... I mean, every season has its low point.
Sure, so yeah. Usually it's episode 4.
I feel like sometimes it's episode 2. That's how it was in Sam and Max season 2, Tales of Monkey Island. Definitely not The Devil's Playhouse, though. That was my favorite one.
I don't know if I would agree about Tales of Monkey Island. Episode 2 seemed...
You liked episode 2 the least. You said you liked episode 2 the least.
Yeah, but I wouldn't... I do like it the least, but I would not say that it's an outlier in the way that, like, Maui Better Blues is, or the way that this feels this much... The way that Atlas Mugged feels that much worse than Zero Sum.
Oh, no, I agree. Like, I liked all of Tales of Monkey Island, but you're saying, like, it didn't feel like a bad episode amongst a sea of good episodes.
I don't remember if we commented on Tales of Monkey Island's consistency, but that just felt like a continuous, like, source of video game to go through. And I think that the final episode of Tales of Monkey Island is quite a bit better than anything that came before it, but it's still all of the same type, all of the same kind.
Right.
This feels like a particular step down from episode 1. And given the long release gap between episode 1 and this, I wonder if they realized, especially because this would have been during the beginning of the peak of crunch culture at Telltale that we know about because of former developers' interviews and things, that eventually led to them taking on way too much work for how much money they were getting in, and paying too much for licenses for how much they were making back. That eventually put the company under. So, like, they put out this sort of massive adventure game in episode 1, and then for episodes 2 through 5, maybe they needed to scale back a lot.
I guess that's understandable. I mean, we even said last episode, like, it felt like a particularly big episode.
Oh, yeah. I mean, is there any...
I wouldn't hold it against them if they couldn't keep that going.
Zero Sum is probably the largest scope single Telltale episode we had ever seen on this podcast.
Would agree.
Right?
I would agree with that.
I can't think of anything bigger.
Yeah, that one was surprising with how big it was.
Yeah, certainly not any CSI cases.
Thankfully.
Probably. Yeah, I don't think there's a Sam and Max Devil's Playhouse that feels bigger. Walking Dead and Wolf Among Us. No, I don't think there's anything, at least in terms of like development scope and how big the episode feels. Nothing compares with Tales from the Borderlands episode 1.
It really hits the ground running. It makes a good first impression and then kind of stumbles here.
Yeah, well,
But like I said, I still had a good enough time.
Yeah, the thing is, it's only in retrospect, once the episode wrapped up, that I realized, like, oh, that kind of didn't do much. Because as I was going through it, I was like, yeah, okay, this all checks out. This is... It doesn't feel like a tonal disconnect. It doesn't feel non-canon or like fanfiction compared to the first one. It just feels like, oh yeah, this would be where the characters end up going next.
Just kind of the slow point in the story.
Yeah, if I could, to like break it down into just a few bullet points. This episode starts in that Atlas thing where Fiona realizes that they're going to be hunted down by someone named Athena for the Gortys project that they got, which, if you remember last episode, was this device that maps out all the locations of the vaults and the vault keys on Pandora.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty fancy little gadget they got. Cool gizmo.
It reminds me of Treasure Planet.
Oh, I love Treasure Planet. We've probably
I
definitely
adore
talked
Treasure
about that on
Planet.
this podcast before.
No one... It feels like such an underrated... Well, okay, this is going... I'm gonna stop myself before it goes too off track, but I enjoy it a lot.
I would watch Treasure Planet right now. But, man, I love that movie.
Same.
It's good. That was... Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
I was gonna say, all right, if Mitchell wants to get into it,
I do want to, but we have work to do. We're on the clock.
That's true.
So, while that's happening, the part of Reese's mind that has been implanted with the Dr. Nakayama's data, I guess. Handsome Jack is now in Reese's head all the time.
He's just there.
Yeah, basically an upload of Handsome Jack's entire personality shortly before he was killed in Borderlands 2.
Yeah. Handsome Jack has very strong Hades from Hercules vibes.
Interesting. Okay.
I got some strong Hades from Hercules energy from him.
I got real Borderlands energy from him. I think
that probably makes more sense.
I think in the first episode we talked about how the reputation that Borderlands' sense of humor had sort of turned us off of the franchise for a while, and we were pleasantly surprised by at least most characters in Tales not behaving quite that way.
Mm-hmm.
I think I called out Loaderbot as one of the exceptions. Like, he still kind of makes jokes in the way that I would have expected from Borderlands. Handsome Jack fits the stereotype. Handsome Jack's sense of humor is all Borderlands that I've been thinking. Hades, though, I like that poll. I'm not sure I feel it. But I
just mean, like, personality wise, it feels like if you put Hades into a Borderlands, that's who you would get. Like, just the way he speaks, he's very kind of like this, very jokey, very wisecracky, but kind of down here a little more realistic about it, I guess.
Yeah, I feel it.
Kind of the kind of guy who kind of moves his hands while he's talking, like, hey, let's go.
So right from the beginning, Handsome Jack is kind of being antagonistic toward Reese.
Right.
In a way that it kind of almost triggered my, like, these Telltale characters aren't just going to talk it out. that response that I've grown over time. That like, oh, Wallace, can't you just say you're not marrying her? Please?
Wallace, you absolute fool.
Wallace, I don't need to pick up the pieces of your broken mind every time you talk to a human.
I love that Wallace is public enemy number 1 for you.
Wallace's inability to just express any thoughts that he has in a way that would make sense drives me up the wall. And there's a little bit of this with Reese that thankfully doesn't last that long when he's talking to Handsome Jack, because Handsome Jack doesn't understand that he's dead. He doesn't understand that he's like a hologram that only exists in Reese's head at first. And no matter what dialogue options that I click so hard, it doesn't seem to make Reese be able to just say, no, look, you're like a data thing. No, like data things are one of those.
There are a few choices you can say to just tell him, look, you're dead, man.
Yeah, you can say you're dead, but that doesn't
clear it up for him.
Yeah, that doesn't sell the entirety of what's happening. You're not just dead, you aren't the real guy. You're just some data.
You are like a computer. You're no different than a Tamagotchi.
He should have said you're no different than a Tamagotchi. Oh, you know what? Okay, I had a thought. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but I wanted to make sure that this reached the show.
Okay.
Later on, Fiona and Sasha will go back, or have the option to go back, to Felix's home, where they grew up. And if at the home you examine the lamp on Felix's desk, Fiona says, I had to basically force him to get that lamp once his eyesight started to go. And that's kind of a humanizing moment for Felix. I liked that. It gave him some character. He didn't have a lot of character in the first episode, so that was nice. And then Sasha goes, oh yeah, he was stubborn. I basically had to force him to move from floppy disks to CDs, or like something with floppy disks. Like he still used floppy disks. He was that stubborn. And that raised a lot of questions for me of, wait, are we in the same kind of technology cycle as in real life 2014?
Yeah. I was thinking, like, I thought this was like in the future or something.
Yeah, I had thought this was far future. But is this just completely fantasy? I'm going to look up, does Earth exist in Borderlands?
Is Borderlands fantasy?
Okay, it was the 4th result on Google. Seems high. Randy Pitchford says there's no Earth in Borderlands, but it's so research, yes.
Okay, so it's basically like an alternate world, kind of, rather than just well, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, but there's also a Reddit post that says, does Earth exist in the Borderlands universe? And someone comments and says, Earth is flat in the Borderlands universe.
Well, I haven't played them, so I guess I can't argue.
Okay, so Earth was never mentioned. Apparently, Earth is never mentioned in canon in the Borderlands universe. So we're not in the far future. We're just in an alternate reality that might have its own technology, which makes sense, because when they talk about like, oh, $10 million, I'm thinking like $10 million is a very right now large amount of money.
Yeah. I'd love to have $10 million.
Yeah, you'd think that we'd be on to credits or something sci-fi by now, but Borderlands has basically said, no, it's right now in the timing of the setting, but because of the different circumstances, it's going to feel very different.
It's the year 2056. I've got my gloopy tokens.
Yeah, how many gloopy tokens is $10 million? Probably a bundle.
Yeah, like 4 probably.
Probably like 4. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Bitcoin was kind of getting that way. Bitcoin is like, hey, we named ourselves after a single coin, so one of them is like $14,000.
I never messed with any of that stuff, so I don't know.
Yeah, I observed from afar.
You could be telling me like the biggest lies in the world, and I would believe everything that came out of your mouth.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. I was sort of raising my eyebrow at the floppy disk comment. Especially, okay, hang on. In Sasha's life,
Uh-huh.
at the whole thing with Atlas, like everything Atlas did, must have been before like Sasha was born, or at least around then, right?
I think so, because Sasha's like 24, I
Oh,
think.
I thought she was like 20 flat, or I don't know, but
Uh,
probably or early 20s, right? Um,
I want to say 24, since you can scan the characters and
oh,
see their
okay,
ages.
then yeah, sure, 24. Um,
That could be wrong. I don't want to, but somewhere around there, yeah.
okay, so maybe she was alive when Atlas was doing this stuff. I don't know how long ago it was, but
Mm-hmm.
that technology Atlas was doing was already far above floppy disks. Uh, I assume. I assume that the Gortys project does not run on floppy disks.
Yeah, I mean, you got like personality drives you can stick into your head.
Yeah, you can. You have personality drives you can stick into your head, and it injects memories into you, Matrix style. But, like some computers run on floppies. That's maybe that's just that much of a statement on how old fashioned Felix was, that he was using this like 300-year-old technology still.
I guess I could buy that.
Maybe. Yeah, it you'd think that he would be using it because he's used to it, but like it should be before his lifetime too.
Yeah.
We were definitely not meant to think this much about that one line, but it was a weird one.
It really stuck out.
Yeah, so after a brief conversation with Handsome Jack in Reese's head, and Fiona learning about Athena, who shows up in this episode a bit to make their lives hard, but like doesn't sort of reveal their plot significance yet.
Mm-hmm.
They see these moonshots, which are giant bombs coming from Helios, coming from the space station, and they're trying to kill Reese and Vaughn. They're just straight up trying to hit them with a giant bomb and hope they die. So then there's a car scene where they're driving away from the bombs, and there's like a large Rancor looking thing that they gotta fight in the car scene.
Yeah, the Rock Hive, I believe it's called. A Rack Hive.
A rack hive. Cool.
Yeah, I liked this part. This kind of got my hopes up for the episode. I thought, okay, this is action-packed. But it does just kind of result in them getting separated again.
Yeah, so the back side of their car flies out, and Vaughn and Reese sort of fly out of it while Fiona and Sasha go forward to where they were going. But the way this happens, there's another very cool song, which I did not do as much research on as I did Busy Earning from last episode.
Right.
But there's another very cool
It
song
was good.
that plays. I loved that song. And there's like a cool slow motion scene of Reese grabbing onto Vaughn, and then Fiona grabbing onto Reese's foot, but like she only got a grab of his shoe, and he flies out of his shoe to the I can't describe it in a way that sounds as cool as it looked, but it was very cool. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought it was. I did too.
Yeah, that I want to by the time we finish this season, I definitely want to go on to Spotify and see if anyone's made a cool playlist of the Tales from the Borderlands song.
Yeah, I've been happy with the song so far.
Well, it's usually like, I guess this is probably going to be a pattern where every episode has one song that is a pop culture song from outside of this, and then Jared Emerson Johnson does the rest of the soundtrack in much more of a score kind of way.
He does a good job. I forget if I said it last episode, but I really liked his music for this so far.
Has he ever struck out?
I don't think so. I can't think of a bad Jared Emerson Johnson soundtrack.
Yeah, I can't either. I think The Walking Dead might be like the least memorable.
Yeah, but it makes sense. It fits with the story. It's more melancholy.
Yeah, I can't think
It
of
still-
a
it
Jared
still
Emerson
has-
Johnson song from Walking Dead.
Walking Dead still, it does have some classics in there that I really like. Some really good standout tracks.
Season 2 has the Bosco Shop song.
That's true. That's a good one. But there's like Clementine's theme is good. I really like the Gauntlet from season 1. That's the part where Lee's like in episode 5 when Lee's slashing through all the walkers to get to the marsh
you're
house.
right. Yeah, okay. There are some good ones.
There's a few, but I do agree, just due to the nature of the game, it doesn't have
Best
that
in the biz. Jared Emerson Johnson, so good.
Good job.
Without Jared Emerson Johnson, I wonder if Telltale would have ever even been Telltale. That music's critical to at least Sam & Max and a few others.
Yeah, I think Sam & Max, I don't know if it's his best. I would really need to like listen to all of the soundtracks side by side. But I remember so many.
I think it's
I
so
remember
good.
so many of those Sam & Max tracks pretty strongly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so many good songs in Sam & Max, and there's a lot of great atmospheric, not atmospheric, it's very melodic, but just more background-ish kind of songs.
Yeah.
Foretales from the Borderlands as well.
Mm-hmm.
Lot of good music choices. I'm really excited to go into Minecraft and just to see like, okay, this tone is so different than anything Telltale's ever done. What did Jared Emerson Johnson do?
Yeah.
Same.
I remember hearing, and I don't know if this is true, but I remember hearing something about the music is the reason why they can't re-release Minecraft Story Mode, like from a friend recently.
Oh, did they use some licensed music?
Maybe. I would need to go back and read exactly what he said, but I think he was saying something with the music is the big reason why it hasn't been re-released.
That's interesting, because if it was Jared Emerson Johnson's music, I'm sure that it would be resolved.
Yeah, it would
he
be
seems
fine.
to be very easy to work with by a lot of these companies nowadays that just want to put the games back out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. So after that,
what happens next?
After that point, you play as Reese first, and Vasquez catches up with you.
Right, Patrick Warburton himself.
Patrick Warburton comes out. He tries to shoot you. He forgets that he doesn't know how a gun is. And Handsome Jack sort of gives Reese's ocular implant thing the ability to hack into more stuff just from standing there. So you're given a choice of what to hack into. You can hack into the car or the gun. I hacked into the gun.
See, I hacked into the car.
Okay, tell me how that went.
So Reese hacks into the car, and he makes it drive itself and drive right into Vasquez.
Great. Did he die?
No, he did. He surprisingly did not die.
Yeah, I didn't think that he would, because that seems like a really good way to get out of that one. I made the gun basically overheat and almost explode. Because
that's pretty good
he couldn't
too.
Hold it anymore, and he was sort of like knocked back.
Jeez, it hurt.
Yeah, Vasquez's villainousness in this episode is really starting to blossom. I think.
Yeah.
Vasquez was maybe one of the characters I connected to the least in the first episode because, well, for one, it is just Joe Swanson.
That's true. How can I hate Joe Swanson?
He does not look like a Patrick Warburton character.
No, he doesn't. At least not this performance, I think, for him. I don't necessarily think Patrick Warburton couldn't play this guy, but I don't really get that connection.
Yeah, this guy feels a bit like... Well, for one, he just physically looks a lot gaunter or like thinner than I think a Patrick Warburton character would look, because I think of that voice as that's a big guy. That's Kronk. That's Joe Swanson's face. Joe Swanson has a large face.
That should be the name of the episode if we did names.
Joe Swanson has a large
face.
But yeah, and like this guy doesn't have that like largeness to him that I would expect.
Also, Patrick Warburton's very over the top, and I feel like this guy, this design, just doesn't strike me as someone who would have like this bombastic a voice.
This, I'm trying to think of who would you, if it needs to be a kind of big name actor or larger name actor for this character, who would you cast?
I'm not sure. That's actually what I was thinking of. I was wondering, like, well, if I'm not buying Patrick Warburton, who would I cast there? And nothing super comes to mind right away. Do you have one?
Well, I would maybe go to another extreme away from this. And it might sound weird, but like I'm thinking of Steve Buscemi or someone who's got like a real like business slimy voice that they can pull off.
I could see that,
but like more of he's more twerpish than Joe Swanson, Patrick Warburton, because this guy doesn't. This guy is not physically intimidating most of the time, right? Like he does punch Reese in the stomach, and Reese didn't seem to have a way to get out of that. But like
he's not like a weakling, but yeah, I don't think he's like a big bodybuilder strongman.
Yeah, he wields his expensive toys and his money and his power and his connections at Hyperion much more than he's a physically intimidating villain. And they use Patrick Warburton for brutes, you know, that's kind of the vibe that he's going for. And it doesn't seem to line up, but it's still fun. I like that voice.
Yeah, I just like that it's Patrick Warburton. I just agree he should have gone like a little slimier with it. He's a little broad, I think. A little too, like a pinch on the jovial side with this guy.
Yeah, like from the context of what he's saying and the narrative of the story, I'd feel like this guy should be very stressed out most of the time. Like he's still winning in his little dick measuring contest against Reese. He's in the lead, but he should be very annoyed that Reese has made his life that much worse. And then Patrick Warburton plays him with this bravado of like, nothing really phases me. I'm gonna be okay.
I'm just gonna shoot you, dig your own graves.
Yeah. Reese, you stood up to me. You got balls. I admire that. Like
that's really cool.
Teach me how to do that, Reese, with the eye thing.
I wish he was just Joe.
Yeah, I mean, if they just modeled him differently and maybe changed a couple of his lines, I think that it would be totally fine.
Yeah, like I don't think he doesn't work as a character in this story. It's just there's some disconnect.
Yeah, and also now that they have Patrick Warburton, can they go back and change Devil's Playhouse and just make Sal actually Patrick Warburton? Or
Do you think they're gonna do that for the remaster?
No, I don't. I don't, because Skunk Ape did not make Tales from the Borderlands.
No, I mean the remaster of Devil's Playhouse. Do you think they could get Patrick Warburton to do Sal?
Well, yeah, I don't think that's what I meant. I don't think Skunk Ape has Tales from the Borderlands connections anymore. I mean, they could try to ask. I don't know, but no, I don't think they would.
I guess anyone could ask anything when you think about it.
Yeah, the voice in Sal, why would you change it? You know,
I kind of like that it's knockoff.
It's
Patrick
like
Warburton.
almost Patrick Warburton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This really says how much there is to say about this episode. We've gone off on so many tangents.
Yeah, so Vasquez tries to make Vaughn and Reese dig their own graves, which I think is a nice arch touch to his character.
That made me feel something, like,
yeah.
I don't know, when he was telling him to do it, I was kind of like, oh, okay, that hits me a little bit. It didn't in Rick and Morty when, like, they had to dig their own graves.
Yeah.
But something about it here, I was kind of like, ugh.
You said that like those are the only two times anyone's ever had to dig their own grave, and like, well, in the collection of things I know about graves, Rick and Morty, funny. This scary.
Those are the two extremes.
And also at this point, it's revealed that Vaughn might have made a deal with Vasquez in order to turn Reese over, but he didn't do it. So you can either choose to forgive Vaughn or make it seem like you're really mad at him.
Here, the thing about this scene is, on one hand, I think it's pretty well done because I really couldn't get a read on it. Like, I was thinking, like, he sounds pretty, like, telling the truth that he wouldn't have done it, but I don't know. It's possible. But on the other hand, I also kind of get a feeling that it might not come up again. That could be totally wrong, too. But the way they were kind of saying it, I don't know.
I think it'll come up again.
I guess we'll have to wait and see. But if it does, then good, because I like it. They didn't have like any tells like, oh, he's lying.
Yeah, the trick is I don't trust Chris Hardwick.
That's true. Did you know? Did we talk about this last time? How he voiced Otis the cow in the Barnyard TV show?
We did.
But not
we did talk about it. Yeah.
That's the one thing I know about it.
Vaughn had a little episode in this episode where he peed on his shirt and put it on his head like a turban for desert reasons. And then while he did that, it was revealed that he's incredibly buff under his shirt.
Yeah, he just has a weird buff body.
Yeah, it's so buff that like it makes people uncomfortable. Handsome Jack is like fascinated with it, and Vasquez stops putting them at gunpoint for a second to give him a shirt.
Yeah, I like that.
But yeah, they get away, and then you have the option. You have a choice that you make while you're sort of flying Loaderbot away, to either go to find Sasha and Fiona at Hollow Point, or like which is where they said they were going to go, or Old Haven, which is where they were eventually going to go.
Right, so either meeting up with them there or just meeting them at the final spot.
Yeah, I have a feeling that we probably did the same thing.
Did you go to Hollow Point? Yeah, me too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just
because I wanted to get more character interaction between them.
Yeah, I wasn't interested in
being there alone.
Yeah, because like if this was The Walking Dead, I would imagine there might be a drastic consequence to not having Fiona and Reese be friends anymore. Yeah. But in this, I know we're ending in the desert the same way. This is all a story that we're telling to this bandit who's kidnapping us. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know.
I like when they play around with them just being a story they're telling. Like when Fiona kind of embellishes how bad Reese's fall was at the beginning. He's like, there was not a fountain of blood.
Yeah, I'm still alive.
Be serious about this.
What I think is interesting is that in the way they lie about this story to embellish it, clearly indicates that Reese lives in Fiona's head rent-free a lot more than the reverse.
Yeah.
Because when Reese lies, he lies to like prop himself up. He lies mostly only about his own stuff. He wants to be a good-looking character. When Fiona lies, she doesn't do that for herself. She's only lying to make Reese look worse.
That's all she needs. That's all she needs to get out of this.
Both lies are only about Reese. So Reese is just like, yeah, Fiona's in my life. Fiona's like, I either have a crush on him or I hate him. I don't know, but I'm focused on him a lot. Which is kind of funny. That's a good dynamic.
I want him to look as bad as possible.
Yeah, to this mean stranger in the desert. I care about what he thinks about Reese. Yeah, so I went to Hollow Point. I'm figuring that like going to Old Haven first is only going to introduce stress. It just doesn't seem worth it.
Yeah.
So in Hollow Point, then you shift perspective to Fiona and Sasha, who need to get their car fixed up because it's half gone. So they go to some guy named Scooter, and he does it.
Yeah. How do you feel about Scooter?
I liked Scooter.
Yeah, Scooter, he had a good heart.
Scooter was really horny. And I think it's fascinating whenever the media like this chooses to present a character as very horny, but like not really in a mean or bad way. Because you can make him a creep, and he's not. He's just sort of really horny.
He's really horny, but he's a super nice guy.
Yeah, he's really nice about being way too horny for the job.
Yeah.
And one of the very few Sasha moments in this episode is when you're playing as Fiona, you're talking to Scooter, and you're like, okay, can you please help us get this machine back in working condition? And it for me, it looked like it wasn't really going to happen, and we didn't have the money for it. But we had the option of calling Sasha over. Did you do this?
I mean, I was just able to afford a car upgrade.
Well, I was able to afford a car upgrade as well, but like the main maintenance on it was far above what you could possibly have.
I said I would sponsor him if I ever did another one of those races.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I just said, hey, look, if I'm ever in another one of those death races again, you can bet Scooter's Catch a Ride will be right there.
Yeah, I didn't say that because I didn't want to do another. I didn't want to do another race.
I think one's good enough for a lifetime.
Well, he also said, like, I'll put your name on billboards and stuff, and like that to me sounded like a really bad idea.
That's not a good thing if you're a wanted criminal.
Yeah. But I also like that you now have that, so there might be billboards for you in your game in the future.
I guess we'll see.
So it wasn't quite going, but then I had the option of calling Sasha over, and Sasha walks up, and Scooter looks at Sasha, and he goes, like, chin to the floor, like Wile E. Coyote just saw a boob.
Auga.
Yeah, real Auga vibes from Scooter. And
he did do that for me, too.
Oh, okay. But like that was the thing that pushed him over the edge of like, okay, he'll fix it up for free, just because he's too horned to function.
Yeah. So for me, it was just saying he can sponsor me next race. I never said I was going to do another race. I just said if I do another one. Okay. But he still went all jaw to the ground, eyes bugging out of his head for Sasha as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because after this conversation, once you get Scooter's favor and he starts fixing your car, Fiona and Sasha have a little conversation, and Sasha, for me at least, said, I hate having to be like the flirty one. It's gross. Next time you do it, Fiona. And it's interesting that she felt that way because I felt like Sasha wasn't really doing anything. She just sort of walked up and said, are you sure there's nothing you can do? Like, I think I would do that. Am I being flirty? Am I being more flirty than I realize in my day-to-day activities, Dustin?
Maybe you might be putting out some signals.
Because what Sasha did not seem that flirty. She just walked up and said, hey, are you sure? And Scooter was horny enough to like do the rest in his own imagination. He's the one that put her over the edge. Because
maybe Sasha's just that good at it. She just has to come in and be like, hey, what's up?
Well, if it's something that Sasha's good at, it's not just what she's saying. Like, her walking up was enough. And she wasn't doing a catwalk or anything. She just sort of walked up. And that already had starstruck Scooter. That was already enough to just put him over the edge. This guy is repressed. He does not have magazines.
He did have a calendar.
He had a calendar with a scantily clad lady riding a giant wrench like it was a rocket ship.
Yeah.
It looked like a cool calendar. It looked like a cool
sometimes. Yeah, so I feel like that should be enough to get the job done, but I guess not.
Yeah, same one every day. That's enough.
You can look forward to the new one next month.
Yeah, Scooter's got to make hard rules for himself that he does not peak to the next month.
You don't want to ruin the surprise.
looking forward to the first day of the next month like it's Christmas.
Every day. We're getting there. It's last Thursday of the month.
Yeah, and then he just uses the same calendar again for the next year.
It's just as good.
Just as good 12 months later. Yeah, it's been 11 months without seeing Miss September. You get pretty upset about it. So they do a few things on Hollow Point. They do that thing I was talking about where they go to Felix's house where they find like an old message from him left in the case that he died. And he said that Valerie is gonna be looking for you now. So that's a bummer.
That would be a weird thing to find in a box. I would be very worried.
Yeah.
I would be very worried if I saw a note that said, Valerie is going to be coming for you.
Yeah.
Run. Change your names. Leave the town.
And at this point in the episode, I was so like... I wasn't tired, but there were already so many little plot things of like, okay, had I heard of Valerie before? And thankfully I hadn't.
That would have been embarrassing.
Well, yeah, because like there was already Athena, and I was like, wait, was her name Valerie? I thought it was.
Yeah, I got confused with that too. I thought they were talking about the same person at first.
Yeah, I have in my notes Athena, comma Valerie, comma I don't know.
I don't know, whatever.
But thankfully Fiona looks over to Sasha and goes, "Do you know who Valerie is?" And Sasha's like, "I don't know." which made me resonate with the characters because we both didn't know.
Neither of us had any idea who this was.
Then you have a lot of little opportunities in this scene to pick up a bunch of grenades.
I picked up 3.
I also got 3. I felt good about getting 3 of them.
Good job.
And then some bounty hunters come in, and you basically trash them. And then you leave, and then Athena chases you, and whoa! But then you get away. And then you go back to Scooters, and your car's done. And also Reese is there with Vaughn. So you just leave. And that's Hollow Point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it. I kind of wish we spent a little more time here. I kind of liked the energy of Hollow Point.
Yeah.
A lot more than the place where we were going. It felt like very... I couldn't tell if it was like on a dock or not, but it kind of felt like a docky... town.
Yeah, I think we brought it up before, but it's kind of like Midgar from Final Fantasy VII, but for trash people.
Yeah.
Pokemon Coliseum, Pyrite Town.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Similar to Pyrite Town. Pyrite Town's a little cleaner than this, but I think it's the dirtiest thing in Pokemon. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then you do eventually just go to Old Haven, where you need to find... in like the most point and clicky part of the whole episode, you just sort of use Reese's eye to find like power things in the walls, and you uncover a giant Atlas lab that was in the ground the whole time. Whoa.
Holy shit.
You go in there, everyone's already dead. Fiona says it was probably Athena. I don't know how she knew that. But at a certain point, August shows up from last episode. He was the one that you tried to sell the fake vault key through, and he's with Vasquez now?
They're teaming up? What?
Yeah, and Vasquez takes Reese, August takes Fiona, and they have the 2 parts of the Gortys core still. And they're the only people that can touch them. If anyone else touches them, they get shocked really badly.
They get a nasty little shower.
They get a nasty little shower of electricity through their whole body. And there's some really stupid conversations. I think that the worst one has got to be August talking about, like, I still really liked Sasha to Fiona while he's got Fiona at gunpoint. And I thought it would be funny if I just, like, played Fiona like an actual supportive friend of August in this instance.
Hey, buddy, come on.
Did you do this? I had the option of August was saying, I don't know, I think Fiona, or I think Sasha and I have something really special going on. And I chose to say as Fiona, yeah, I think you just got to talk it through.
I think I did pick that.
That was... and August seems to really believe you. He's like, yeah, I think we should talk it through. You're right. all the while
You're
he's got
so
a gun
right.
to your back, and he seems to not be understanding that he's putting her in a place where she can't trust him.
But you're having this real heart to heart with one another.
Mm-hmm. Uh,
Yeah, and then Reese and Vasquez just kind of have their regular, oh, you suck, oh, no, you suck, actually.
well, while that's happening, Handsome Jack is active.
Oh, he's trying to think of where he remembers this guy.
Yeah, he like remembers Vasquez kind of, but it must have been a little while. And
Yeah.
he finds out that Vasquez was his wallet head.
Yeah, his punching. He chose to be his punching bag, because in Reese's head he's like, "Oh shit, he was his punching bag," and then you're kind of like, "Oh, but he would never say that." And then Vasquez just kind of says, "I was his punching bag.
I was his punching bag." He found a certain amount of pride in being his punching bag specifically.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you need.
I guess, yeah. And he has this story of Handsome Jack when Vasquez was working in the mailroom. Handsome Jack would stop by because Vasquez was bald at the time and stick money to his head. And
What a thing.
yeah, and he had these hair transplants that weren't really working. So he said, "Oh yeah, your wallet head. Didn't recognize you with your hair." And then, so because Handsome Jack says this and Vasquez can't hear it, Reese has the option of like subtly hinting at, I think you're just a wallet head.
You're just a little wallet head, aren't you?
Yeah, I think you should take those 2 cents and stick them on the back of your head because you're just a wallet head.
Wallet head.
And Vasquez goes, "I was trying to be nice."
Yeah, poor guy.
Yeah, that half of the conversation was pretty funny. Okay, so then Reese is led to a place where he can put in his half of the Gortys core, and Fiona is led to a different place where she can do that as well. And then they're kind of brought together in this giant, is it Cerebro? Like from X-Men? It looks like Cerebro. This room that's just a big sphere and you're kind of like on a platform in the center of it.
Well, yeah, see, this is the part that reminded me of Treasure Planet. That's what came to mind for me.
It also kind of looked like the Senate in Star Wars. In the Star Wars prequels, where there's like floating platforms that come to the center so Palpatine can talk to his constituents and like all the circumference of the sphere of the room.
Right. Yeah.
So they float into the center. They turn on Cerebro. Handsome Jack is also there with Reese because he has to be. And the two halves of the core produce this like ball. And Reese touches it wrong, I guess.
And it falls down.
Yeah, it falls down, but he caught it for me.
He did catch it, yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you could maybe not catch it or something.
Yeah, I made sure to catch it.
But you weren't supposed to, I guess, because the security system doesn't like that. And then there's these like floating turret-looking robot things that come up both in this room where Fiona and Reese are hard separated from everyone else, including Vaughn and Sasha, and also August and Vasquez, and some grunts. They're outside, and they've also got some turrets going on. And you're given a choice between, as Reese, trusting Fiona, because Fiona says, "I have an idea," or trusting Handsome Jack, because Handsome Jack says, "If you give me access to your core processes, I can hack into this facility." What did you do? Who did you trust?
I trusted Fiona just because, you know, she at least seems on the level. Handsome Jack was not necessarily a cool guy, even though that seemed like it kind of seemed like a more surefire, like guaranteed success.
Yeah, everything he was saying, it didn't seem that manipulative. It just seemed like, yeah, he could figure this out.
I kind of like that with this. I like that even though Handsome Jack is kind of the sketchier guy between him and Fiona, Fiona's the one who's just telling you to trust her. She doesn't tell you a plan. Meanwhile, Handsome Jack's like, look, I can hack into these and it'll be totally cool and fine.
Yeah, this is one of the instances where I felt like our shared documented Boy Scout mentality about these telltale choices has really gotten the better of me, because I did pick Fiona as well, and Fiona's answer is just to sort of drop a grenade on the ground right next to them. And then it explodes, and that's credits. And as soon as she did that dumb bullshit, I thought, well, damn, I definitely should have trusted Handsome Jack instead. That was a bad idea.
I wasn't counting on your solution being to drop a grenade right next to us.
Yeah, you said you had an idea, like throw the grenade at the turret robot. What I didn't expect was throwing the grenade at us. I don't even know what that solves.
Yeah, this is the first time I, as Reese, am seeing these grenades.
Yeah, I kind of had a feeling that the grenades would be part of it, her solution, but Fiona does not vocalize exactly what she wants to do, and maybe at the beginning of episode 3 we're going to see, Fiona had a plan all along, but I kind of think we won't. I kind of think, like, Fiona messed up and you should have trusted Handsome Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do like that because you have that connection with Fiona, more than I assume you would with Handsome Jack, it does kind of level the choices more than I would expect.
Yeah, I mean, as a character, maybe Reese would have a lot more respect for Handsome Jack than you, the player, would.
Yeah.
But that aspect of Reese is not played up that much in this, in the narrative that you've seen of the canon of Tales from the Borderlands.
Yeah. Vaughn does kind of say, like, oh yeah, you're obsessed with Handsome Jack. You got all those, like, posters.
Yeah, because fundamentally, Reese still wants to be the person that, like, takes over Hyperion. He is a friend to Fiona and Sasha. He's a nice enough guy generally, but he is, like, in the Handsome Jack following sphere of Hyperion employees. But you, the player, never get that enough, and especially if you played Borderlands 2, I bet you would probably feel like, okay, well, Handsome Jack is the bad guy, so, you know, you need to think of him as the bad guy. Maybe if there was more that endeared Handsome Jack to the player, this would be a more equal choice, but as it is, I think you're just supposed to pick Fiona, and you're supposed to feel bad about picking Fiona because she did not have a plan.
Well, I don't know. It's like I was saying, like, Handsome Jack's plan sounded like more of a surefire thing. Like, he told you, I can just straight up hack these and it'll be cool. So I do feel like, even though...
He said that, but, like, in order to do that, you'd have to give him access to your cyber brain, which could, you know, potentially lead to a cyber ghost possessing you forever. I wouldn't want that.
That's true. That's true. He was, like, possessing his arm earlier.
Yeah, and he's not, even if you like Handsome Jack in the way that you're, like, idolizing a professional in your field, you are not going to think, oh yeah, but it's cool if he owns my body.
Yeah, he can just use it.
Yeah, I don't need my arms all the time.
I just need them for my special moments.
Okay, Dustin. Okay. Do we have any other thoughts before we get into our segments?
I gotta be honest, I barely had any thoughts to get through this.
Oh, man.
That's so mean to say, but I mean it in the least mean way I can. It just wasn't a super eventful episode, and you just kind of go through it.
There were 2 moments that are not my golden moments, so I want to just make sure we bring them up.
Okay.
At the very beginning of the episode, you need an Atlas employee's eyeball to succeed an eye scan. So you find a dead Atlas employee in that area you're in, and he's in a coffin, and you find a spork, and Fiona uses the spork to remove the eye from his head, and it sucks. And then, in this is pure Borderlands humor right here. Turns out that coffin was not a coffin, but a stasis chamber, and he was not dead, but in stasis. So he was alive while you removed the eyeball from his skull.
If he wakes up, he's gonna have quite a surprise.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna be given the option, like, hey, should we put a bullet in this guy before we leave, just to make sure he does not wake up from this? Because this is awful.
We left him in not a great spot.
Yeah. Yeah, genuinely rude, I would say. If nothing else, he's going to die from blood loss. So
that's
you
true.
can't just keep him in stasis after that.
Well, everyone makes mistakes.
Yeah, so that was rough. And also, you only get the eye on your second time, because halfway through the first time, Reese screams because he's having like a weird out-of-body experience with Handsome Jack for the first time. And when he screams, Fiona, I guess, splits the eye in half by accident.
Whoops. I'm glad they didn't, show... the whole time I was worried, are you going to show this?
Yeah, they kind of show parts of it. But never the scooping into the skull part. That
it's always from his perspective.
Yeah, it's from his perspective. Which, imagine playing this in VR,
and they're scooping your eye out.
Scooping your eye out. Ooh, imagine LASIK surgery simulator in VR.
That sounds like a good seller.
That's worse than any horror game. That would scare the shit out of me.
Seriously.
Yeah. Okay. The other moment is when Sasha and Fiona are at Felix's house. Sasha goes, "Hey, we're probably not going to eat for a while. Do you want a sandwich?" And she makes this grilled cheese sandwich on the stove, and it looked so good. And I hadn't eaten anything that day by the time I was playing it.
You wanted to go inside the game and get the sandwich? I wanted the sandwich,
especially because they fight the bounty hunters and the sandwich ends up on the ground and they don't do anything about it.
No one gets the
sandwich. I was pissed off. I wanted that sandwich a lot. It sounded so good. Just like a grilled cheese sandwich out of nowhere. Yes, please.
I looked at those two guys and I said, you fuckers.
Yeah, at least you should have the sandwich. Someone should have the sandwich. I don't care if it's Fiona.
Eat that sandwich off the ground, you piece of shit.
I hope Athena went back and got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She said, well, I didn't catch my targets. I guess I'll have this sandwich.
Yeah, every assassin needs a pick-me-up for if they don't kill someone.
I'm just imagining the end of that, I think you should leave sketch. Did you kill anyone? Not really.
Segments.
We got some segments.
Dustin, you got a weekly guy.
You know what? I don't feel super strongly about these segments this week just because the episode didn't do that much for me, but I do have an answer. I picked Loaderbot because he saves your guys' ass twice, and he just seems like a nice guy. I would be friends with Loaderbot, maybe.
So for everything that we said about Patrick Warburton not fitting the role, maybe, with Vasquez, I think my weekly guy actually is Vasquez.
Interesting. How come?
He's growing into a cooler villain. When you make fun of, if you make fun of Vasquez for the wallet head thing that he has a memory of, Vasquez just very coldly says, "Yeah, after the scientists are done with your body, I'm gonna ask them to save some of your skin so I can make it into a wallet, and every time I look at it, I'll remember the look on your face right now." And Handsome Jack says, "Whoa, that was more than I expected from this guy." And it was for me too. He's kind of growing into this power unto himself, very very casual about just asking Vaughn and Reese to dig their own graves. Fun villain. He wasn't that fun in the first episode. I think his role is one of the big improvements between episode 1 and 2.
See, I didn't necessarily get that from him this time. He's a little better. I wasn't in love with the guy here. But I'm interested in seeing where they take him. He does seem like he's growing more into that villainous role.
Yeah, my other weekly guy contender, maybe it's this one, maybe it's Vasquez, is Scooter. For all
Scooter's
the reasons
really
we already
good.
talked about.
Yeah. Boy, Scooter's fun. I feel like each episode kind of has this one weirdo in it. Like this time was Scooter, last time was Shade.
Oh yeah, Shade. I forgot
that.
about Shade.
Shade rules. Shade might be like a top Telltale character.
Yeah, so for the audience at home, we haven't brought this up yet, but yeah, elephant in the room. We've had some difficulty getting this episode out. So there's been some.
Well,
extra
we had
time.
difficulty getting the last episode out.
We had difficulty getting the last episode out because we recorded it at a normal time after the CSI episode. We played it, we recorded it, we were ready to go. I was about to edit it. My computer fried. There was a power surge maybe, and my motherboard was just completely dead. We took it into a very professional, old school computer repair shop, and it was just it felt like walking into the 90s. It was great. It was this really old school computer repair shop that kind of made me pause for a second and wonder, like, is my computer too new for you? It looks like you only repair computers from the 1980s, but no, it was not. And they can, of course, do any kind of computer. I shouldn't have been so judgmental. They were great.
I'm glad it all worked out in the end.
Yeah, and I just got a new motherboard, which was unfortunately expensive, but fine. And all of the extra parts on my computer ended up not being affected, so my CPU still worked, and all of my memory was saved still, so it's all good. I had the audio file from last week's episode. I put it out there a little bit before Monday last week, so the gap between that episode and this episode you're hearing now is probably also longer than normal, but now, provided my computer doesn't explode again, we are back in business. One episode a week, baby, until we die? I don't know.
I guess we'll see.
We are a little bit past halfway. We're nearly at 80 out of 140.
That's a lot.
Well, it is a lot. I guess we're pretty close to... I think we're closer to halfway than that would imply, because we are adding 5 episodes now for new Tales of the Borderlands after that. That doesn't factor into the 140 number.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. And we did return to Monkey Island, which also doesn't factor into the 140 number. We don't count those in the show episode count, but I guess that would put us up to 146 now.
That was fun. I like when we did that one.
Wait, what one?
Return to Monkey Island.
I thought you just meant the conversation about the numbers. And like, is Dustin giving me the biggest razz ever? Like, yeah, I know it's not the most interesting podcast material we can talk about. I just thought I was informing people.
Just sit down and wait for it to end. Don't say
that
a word.
One was fun.
Jeez, what an asshole thing for me to say.
Dustin, what's your golden moment?
I just really like the beginning, the opening, when you're running around from the moon shots.
Yeah.
And it does the slow motion part. It really was kind of the one part that felt really action-y this episode.
Yeah, I wrote that my golden moment was specifically within that, like, the slow motion shoe slipping cool song moment.
Yeah, that's when they do the opening credits.
Yeah, and it was good. It was a really good one.
Yeah.
That is also my golden moment. We
nice.
agree.
We're in sync on that one.
Choice cut.
So I had to go with either trusting Fiona or trusting Handsome Jack, but the reason that is because I couldn't remember any other choices in that episode.
So mine is not that
I guess that was the...
But I definitely have one that resonated with me.
Okay.
So after the first meetup with Vasquez, when you find out that Vaughn maybe betrayed you, but also maybe he was just lying to Vasquez to cover up for you or something. And you're flying away with Loaderbot. Vaughn goes, "Look, Reese, I was never going to betray you. I hope you know that. It was just for getting a little distance from Vasquez, and you have the option of forgiving Vaughn or not. And this is not my choice cut, but I forgave Vaughn just because I don't think it's worth the fight.
Right.
And they say, like, bro, I would never betray you. You know that. Thank you for forgiving me. And then Vaughn puts out his fist for a fist bump. And even though I just said, I totally forgive you, I just waited there and I didn't fist bump him. And if you don't, if you don't fist bump him, Reese's eyes just like slim down and go like, yeah, do I really forgive you? and that's my choice cut. After you forgive him, choosing whether or not to fist bump him is great.
You know what's so funny about that is my scene went the exact opposite route. So I didn't tell him I didn't forgive him, but I was just kind of like, we're going to talk about this later.
Yeah.
And then he's like, yeah, okay. But we still had the like, bro. So I guess I forgave him afterwards.
Did
anyway.
you fist bump?
I think I did. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I fist bumped him because we got the whole, bro. I would never do that, bro. Bro, I know. Shut up.
Yeah, and that might have been how it happened, or that might have been a retelling from Fiona's perspective of them just saying bro all the time.
Oh, I thought that was Reese telling that part of the story.
It was Reese telling that part of the story, but then it pans out to Fiona, and Fiona is clearly like puppeting their voices in that moment.
Oh,
saying,
right,
oh,
right,
bro,
right,
bro,
right. She was going, bro.
Which is weird. Like, Fiona wasn't there for that. Why would she be in charge of telling this part?
Reese was probably doing it first, going bro, and then like after that she goes bro.
Yeah, she really wants to step in whenever she can and just definitely like an elementary school crush level of picking on someone. Yeah,
she really does not want to let him look cool at all.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's the choice cut. And so yours was picking Fiona or Handsome Jack?
Yeah, I just couldn't remember any other choices. I guess I like the part where you have to choose to hack the car or the gun.
The car or the
just
gun,
because it's like either way you can't go wrong. It's you're going to get something fun.
What's interesting is that there is one choice in particular during this episode that they really play up as being important. Which is going to Old Haven or Hollow Point first. Mm-hmm. And while you're on the map screen and you can choose which town you want to go to first, Reese is talking out loud, just saying, yeah, sometimes I talk out loud when I have to make a really big decision that matters. They're really
trying to drive it home.
Yeah, like, I guess we don't have a reference for how much this matters because both of us did the same thing. I have a hard time believing this matters that much. But they seem to really drive that, like, this is the one that matters.
I guess it's part of the joke, because they were really playing up how serious. Like, this is just such a big choice.
Maybe it is. Maybe if you go to Old Haven first, like, Fiona just gets so mad at you that they don't work together. I don't know.
That's true. It could. Who knows at this point? Maybe you find an elephant if you go there first.
Oh, man, that would have been great.
It's like not part of the story. They're just like, whoa, cool.
I mean, in the Last of Us, that is kind of a moment with some giraffes.
Yeah, they see the giraffes. I'm just imagining like the last scene in the episode where you see like August has Sasha at gunpoint and Vasquez has Vaughn. But I'm imagining an elephant in the back just going crazy, just going like.
There's like one grunt has the elephant at gunpoint. The elephant looks all scared.
It's in slow motion. You see the elephant like freaking out.
Well, that's my favorite part of the episode, and it didn't actually happen in the episode now. So yeah, I think that's a good time to end the podcast.
Yeah.
All right. Well, okay. We'll see you next time for Tales from the Borderlands episode 3. Will it be interesting? We'll find out soon.
I hope.
I'd love it. I'd love it to be. I bet it will be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I I don't think that this episode will be the metric for the future episodes in the season that much.
Yeah.
I'd love to see some interesting stuff happen.
I feel like this is just expectations at this point, but I've heard enough people say that Tales from the Borderlands is really good, like one of the best Telltales, that I would assume it gets a lot more interesting after this one.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so, but also maybe just episode 1 is so strong that it stays with people a long time.
Yeah, maybe that'll be a bad thing in our case. Maybe it'll just make everything else not quite live up to it, but I guess we'll see.
No, I won't hold that against it, because I still think this episode is more interesting than most Wallace and Gromit's or certainly
we know
CSI's.
Your feelings on Wallace.
No, I mean it was a pretty solid episode compared to like a middle of the season Walking Dead or something.
I don't know if
actually,
I
you're right.
far.
I don't know. Maybe season 2, episode 4, Walking Dead. We didn't like that much.
Yeah, I'd put this over that, definitely.
Sure. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see if it continues at that absolutely glowing review standard, or maybe just gets a little bit better next time on Telling the Tale. And until then, we'll see ya.
Goodbye.